Lena Carter never told her father why she preferred walking home alone. She didn't want him to worry. She didn't want him to follow her in the patrol car and make a scene. And she certainly didn't want him to bring Ranger, the retired police dog, to escort her like a furry bodyguard. She just wanted to be brave. But bravery for a 9-year-old looked different. It looked like a worn-out backpack, a pink hoodie disguised to big, and her small sneakers walking down an old, sun-baked service road behind the lumber yard. The place was quiet, forgotten. Adults rarely passed through. Birds flew overhead. The wind carried the smell of sawdust, and sunlight broke through the trees in long, peaceful streaks. This was usually the safest part of her day, but not today, because today, she heard them before she saw them. The low snarl of engines, the rhythmic chug-chug-chug of dirt bikes being revved by hands that loved trouble. The sound echoed against the cracked concrete walls on both sides of the service road. Lena froze. Her breath caught. Please, not today. But it was today. 3 teenage boys, maybe 14, maybe 15, shot out from behind the metal storage containers, skidding their dirt bikes in a wide arc around her. Dust billowed up in clouds, whipping into her eyes and mouth. She coughed, shielding her face. The boys laughed. The biggest one, Tyson, the one who always led the group, revved his engine louder, letting the back tire slide dangerously close to her feet. Well, look what we found, boys, he shouted above the engines. Little Lena walking on our road again. It's not your road, she whispered, though her voice barely carried. The youngest biker hopped off his bike and walked toward her with mocking swagger. What was that? Speak up, Tiny. Lena's fingers tightened around the straps of her backpack. Her heart thudded so fast it hurt. I just want to go home, she said quietly. Tyson killed his engine and swung off the bike. He walked toward her with a grin too wide to be friendly. We can help you go home. He nodded at the others. Right, boys? 2 of them laughed. Lena stepped back and felt her shoulders press against something cold and metallic. The chain-link fence. She was cornered. The boys spread out, blocking any escape. Her throat tightened. She wasn't strong. She wasn't tall. She wasn't fast. But she had something none of them knew about. A secret. A signal. A code taught only to her by her dad, Officer Mark Carter, a canine handler with the local police department, and the one who protected her since she was 5, Ranger, a retired police dog with a heart loyal enough to guard her from the world. Earlier that morning, Ranger had wanted to follow her out the door like always. He'd stood at the window, ears up, watching her leave. His whole world was making sure she was okay. But she told him to stay. You're getting old, she had whispered, kissing his head. Take a rest today. Now she wished she hadn't said that. Tyson stepped so close she could feel the heat from his bike's engine lingering on his jacket. You scared, Tiny? He asked with a smirk. The youngest boy picked up a stick and tapped it against the fence behind her, making metallic rattles echo down the empty road. Her chest tightened. She felt tears pushing behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not in front of them. She inhaled slowly, remembering the code her father told her to use only if she was in real danger. 3 taps, pause. 2 taps, pause. 1 tap. A silent cry for help. A signal Ranger had been trained to respond to during emergencies. She brought her small hand behind her back, fingers trembling. One of the boys noticed. What's she doing? But it was too late. Lena tapped her palm 3 times, then 2, then 1. Her heart hammered as the boys moved closer. Nothing happened. The road remained quiet. The world stayed still. Ranger wasn't here. Ranger was miles away. Ranger couldn't hear her. Tyson grabbed her backpack and yanked her forward. She stumbled, scraping her knees on the gravel. Maybe we should teach her a lesson. A scream tore from Lena's throat. And miles away, inside the Carter home, Ranger shot up from his bed with the force of a soldier waking from nightmare. His ears snapped forward. His chest rumbled with a growl. He sprinted through the dog door before anyone could stop him. And on the service road, as Lena struggled to get to her feet, the boys looming over her, she suddenly felt it. A vibration under the ground. A distant thundering. Something running. Fast. Very fast. Her tears stopped. Her eyes widened. Ranger was coming. And the boys had no idea what was about to hit them miles away. Ranger tore across the Carter's backyard, paws pounding against the cold, hard earth. His muscles coiled and uncoiled with the precision of a trained police dog. He didn't stop at the gate. Didn't slow for the street. Every fiber of his body knew something was wrong. Ranger, stop. Mark Carter shouted, sprinting after his dog, heart pounding. But Ranger wasn't listening. Not today. Not when his little girl Lena was in danger. Back on the service road, Lena stumbled to her feet, brushing gravel from her knees. She tried to back away from the three bikers, but the tallest boy, Tyson, leaned down and spat near her sneaker. Scared, huh? You're shaking. He sneered, kicking a small rock toward her feet. Her breath came in short bursts. She glanced behind her and saw nothing but the familiar fence, the sun streaking through the trees. Her stomach churned as panic settled in. She wanted to call for help, but her voice had already failed her once. Then, from somewhere deep inside, Lena felt a flicker of hope. Ranger would come. He had to. She had tapped the signal, the secret one only Ranger knew. He was trained for this, and suddenly, a sound reached her ears. Low at first, almost imperceptible, the distant rumble of paws hitting dirt and gravel. Her pulse quickened. The boys looked around. What's that? The youngest asked, uncertain. Before Lena could respond, a shadow appeared at the far end of the road, a massive, blurred shape that was moving faster than any animal she'd ever seen. Ranger. He skidded around the first curve, dirt flying in all directions. His eyes locked on Lena. His teeth were bared, not in aggression toward her, but in warning at the boys. Every hair along his neck stood on end, every muscle in his body taut with tension. Lena felt a surge of relief. Her heart, racing a moment ago in terror, steadied. Ranger had arrived. She wasn't alone anymore. Tyson's face fell. Is that his dog? He whispered, panic creeping into his voice. The youngest boy staggered back. The police dog. Ranger didn't bark. He didn't charge immediately. He didn't need to. His presence alone sent a ripple of fear down the spines of the three bikers. He positioned himself like a wall between Lena and the boys, massive shoulders squared, eyes locked on the leader. You're messing with the wrong kid, Ranger seemed to say without words. Lena's fingers clutched the back of his fur. Go away, please, she whispered, barely audibly. Ranger gave a low rumble, like a warning growl that vibrated through the ground. The boys froze, the thrill of teasing replaced by fear. Tyson's bravado wavered. You think your mutt will stop us? He said, trying to sound confident. Tyson stepped forward. Ranger's hackles rose further. The dog's low growl turned into a guttural bark that sent the youngest biker stumbling backward. Lena's chest heaved as adrenaline surged through her veins. Then came the distant roar of another engine. Lena's eyes widened. It wasn't just the three boys anymore. The bikers turned their heads. The sound was heavier than their dirt bikes. It grew louder with every second, a deep, throbbing rhythm that seemed to shake the very ground beneath their feet. What now? The youngest boy muttered, his voice trembling. Lena's gaze darted between Ranger and the approaching sound. Her pulse spiked. Something told her this wasn't just another biker. Something told her this was different. The boys looked unsure, shifting nervously on their feet. Tyson muttered something under his breath, but Lena couldn't hear. Her eyes stayed locked on the approaching figure, and Ranger's growl deepened. Ranger's instincts were right. The new presence wasn't there to threaten Lena, but it was powerful, imposing, and human. Tall, strong, the figure on the motorcycle slowed as they approached, and Lena saw the glint of black leather and a helmet reflecting the sunlight. Ranger's growl didn't cease. He moved closer to Lena, shielding her body with his massive frame. Lena's fingers trembled as she whispered, "It's okay, Ranger. I'm here." The figure stopped at the far edge of the road. Lena squinted, trying to see a face beneath the helmet. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Who was this? A stranger? A protector? Or someone worse? The boys, unsure, began to whisper among themselves. "Do we leave?" one asked, voice shaky. Ranger's stance told them the answer, not until the threat was gone. The approaching stranger dismounted silently, helmet tucked under one arm. Every step toward the group was deliberate, calm, measured, but his presence carried authority, a weight that made the boys falter. Lena's stomach twisted. She wanted to step forward, wanted to ask him if he was there to help, but she stayed behind Ranger, trusting the dog's instincts more than her own judgment. The stranger stopped a few feet from Lena and the boys. He didn't speak yet. He simply observed, his eyes hidden, but somehow piercing through the tension in the air. Ranger's growl continued, warning, protective, unyielding. The boys took a half step back, uncertainty etched across their faces. The adrenaline that had fueled their intimidation just moments ago was replaced by a creeping fear. Fear of what they didn't understand. Lena took a shaky breath. She realized something that made her chest pound even harder. Whatever this stranger intended, Ranger was ready to face it, and so was she. But as the stranger finally raised a hand, Lena's heart skipped a beat, because in that simple gesture, there was a warning, a presence that demanded respect, and a silent promise that everything was about to change. The boys didn't know it yet, but the end of their terrorizing game had begun. The air was thick with dust, tension, and the metallic scent of tires burning against gravel. Lena's small frame trembled as she clutched Ranger's thick fur, feeling the warmth and strength that only he could provide. Her heart still raced, and adrenaline made her limbs jitter like electricity. From the far end of the service road, a blur became visible. A large shape barreled toward them at impossible speed, dirt kicking up behind it. Lena squinted through the haze. Her chest clenched as the realization hit her. Ranger had arrived. The boys noticed it too. Their laughter faltered, hesitation flickering across their faces. "Is that his dog?" The youngest stammered. Ranger skidded to a halt in front of Lena, chest low, hackles raised, eyes locked on the tallest biker, Tyson. He didn't bark, his posture alone was a warning. This was no ordinary dog. This was a trained K9, a protector of the innocent, loyal beyond reason, and ready to defend at all costs. Tyson's smirk faltered. He tried to step forward, but Ranger shifted slightly, muscles coiled, teeth bared. The low rumble of his growl vibrated through the air, a warning that sent shivers down the spines of the three boys. "Step back," the youngest whispered, his voice cracking. Lena took a deep breath, her hands shaking as she whispered to Ranger, "It's okay. It's okay. I'm right here." Ranger didn't move from his defensive position. He simply remained a solid wall between Lena and the threat. His eyes didn't leave the bikers. Every instinct told him that these boys were dangerous not because they carried weapons, but because they intended harm to someone vulnerable. The boys exchanged panicked glances. Tyson's bravado was fading fast. We should go," he muttered, but the words lacked conviction. A sudden, heavier rumble in the distance made everyone freeze. This was no dirt bike. The sound was deeper, louder, approaching fast. Lena's stomach twisted. She knew Ranger had reacted instinctively, but now she realized something bigger was coming. The ground vibrated with each passing second. Lena's pulse raced. Ranger's growl deepened, a low, threatening sound that vibrated through the air. Then the figure appeared. A man, riding a full-size Harley, black leather jacket glinting in the sunlight, helmet reflecting the road ahead. He slowed deliberately, engine rumbling in controlled power, and stopped a few yards from the scene. The boys stiffened. Who is that?" one whispered. The biker dismounted with quiet precision, boots thudding against the gravel. His movements were measured, controlled every step exuding authority and experience. He didn't speak. He didn't flinch. He simply observed. Lena's eyes widened. Her small hand still rested on Ranger's fur, feeling the dog's tension, the protective energy radiating off him. Ranger didn't growl at the newcomer. Instead, he shifted slightly, standing taller as if acknowledging the man. The stranger reached up and lifted his helmet. Lena blinked, stunned. His face was weathered, stubble, hardened by experiences she couldn't imagine. His eyes were sharp, ice-cold, scanning the boys like predators assessing prey. "You boys think bullying a little girl makes you big," the man said, voice low, calm, and yet commanding. Tyson opened his mouth. We didn't lie again," the man interrupted, stepping closer, "and you'll regret it." His gaze didn't waver. The boys paled. Their laughter was gone. The weight of this stranger's presence pressed down on them like a physical force. Lena felt a mixture of fear and awe. She didn't know this man, but she felt something familiar in the way Ranger regarded him, a bond. Ranger shifted again, nuzzling Lena's side briefly, as if reassuring her. Then he stepped slightly forward, matching the stranger's calm intensity. Lena realized that the dog recognized him, trusted him, maybe even owed him something. The stranger glanced down at Ranger. His expression softened ever so slightly, a brief flicker of recognition and respect passing across his face. "Good dog," he murmured, almost to himself. "You protected her." Lena's mind raced. Who was this man? And why did Ranger respond to him like that? The bikers, now thoroughly terrified, mounted their bikes silently. We're leaving," Tyson mumbled, barely daring to look back. Ranger didn't move. Lena felt his energy calm slightly, as if signaling her it was safe for now. The man took a slow step toward Lena, crouching just slightly. His voice softened. "Are you okay?" Lena nodded, eyes wide. "Why, yes. Thank you," she whispered. The man didn't answer immediately. He looked at Ranger again, and Lena saw the bond between them, unspoken but undeniable. Ranger's tail gave a slight wag, a gesture of recognition and trust. Lena's pulse was still racing. Fear and relief mingled in her chest. She realized that, whatever this man represented, he was here for her and that Ranger's instincts had never been wrong. But then, a sudden distant siren cut through the air. Lena's stomach dropped. Ranger stiffened, ears perked. The stranger looked toward the sound, his jaw tightening, a shadow of worry crossing his face. Lena clutched Ranger tighter. Something told her that this was only the beginning, and that, whatever lay ahead, would test every ounce of bravery she had left. And somewhere deep down, she knew that the stranger's arrival was a turning point, a crossing into danger, mystery, and a story that would change her life forever. The stranger moved closer, and Lena's heart thumped so hard it felt like it might burst. Every instinct in her body told her to step back, yet she stayed rooted behind Ranger, whose massive frame acted as both shield and anchor. The boys, pale and trembling, hadn't moved yet. Tyson tried to reclaim some sense of bravado. "We're leaving. Got it," he said, voice shaking more than he intended. The stranger didn't answer. He stopped just a few feet from Lena, letting the sun glint off the smooth black surface of his helmet, held casually under his arm. For a moment, he simply observed the three bikers, Lena and Ranger, with quiet authority. Then he slowly lifted his gaze, and Lena's breath caught. His face was rough, scarred by a life that had seen more pain than anyone her age could understand. His eyes, ice cold and unwavering, locked on the boys, piercing through their fear. "You think teasing a 9-year-old makes you strong?" he asked, voice low and measured. Not a shout, not a threat, yet every word carried weight. Tyson faltered. He tried to step forward, but his legs shook. We didn't mean..." "Lie again," the stranger interrupted, stepping closer. "And you'll regret it. Every single one of you." The youngest biker swallowed hard. Who are you?" The man's jaw tightened. "Someone who doesn't tolerate bullies. Someone who knows when to act. And someone who owes a certain police dog his life." Lena blinked. Ranger stiffened, tail lowering slightly, ears perked. The dog's stance shifted subtly, one paw lifted as if to acknowledge the stranger. Lena realized then, this man wasn't just any adult. Ranger knew him. "Ranger," she whispered. Her small hand reached forward instinctively, brushing against the dog's fur. Ranger's growl softened, and he let Lena's hand rest on him. His focus now divided between her and the stranger. The boys noticed Ranger's change in behavior and panicked even more. Tyson's voice rose, desperate, shaking. He's a dog. Why's your dog obeying him?" The stranger crouched slightly, almost as if to meet Lena's eye level. His tone softened, no less commanding but quieter now. "He's not obeying me. He's recognizing me. We go a long way back." Lena's brow furrowed. She didn't understand, but instinctively she trusted the man. Ranger did, and if Ranger trusted him, that was enough. The youngest boy shuffled backward, clearly shaken. We should go," he muttered. "Yes," the stranger said, voice cold again. "You should." Tyson and the other two didn't wait for another warning. They mounted their bikes silently, kicking gravel and dust behind them as they fled down the service road, engines roaring like a desperate farewell. Lena's chest heaved with relief, but she didn't dare relax yet. The stranger stood again, slowly, and turned his attention fully to Lena. Ranger stepped beside him, chest high, fur still slightly bristled, but calm. "You're okay?" the stranger asked. Yes," Lena said, voice trembling. "Thank you for helping." The man nodded slightly, almost as if the acknowledgement wasn't necessary. He looked at Ranger and said softly, "Good boy. You did exactly what you were supposed to." Lena's mind raced. How did he know Ranger so well? Why did the dog respond to him like this? The man, sensing her curiosity, allowed a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "I've been around him before. More than once." Ranger barked once, softly, like a question. Lena caught the flicker of understanding in the stranger's eyes. There was a history here, a shared bond that Lena didn't yet understand. Then, the air shifted. The faint sound of sirens in the distance reached them. Lena stiffened. Her father's patrol car. Mark would be here soon. The stranger's face changed. The faint warmth, the recognition, the calm all replaced by a hard edge. His eyes narrowed. "We don't have much time," he said, helmet rising to his shoulder again. Lena's pulse raced. Time for what? She asked, though fear tightened her throat. Time before they arrive, he said, scanning the road behind them. And if they see me here, things will get very complicated. Very fast. Ranger growled low in agreement. Lena's stomach dropped. Complicated. What did he mean? Why was her protector so tense? The stranger turned fully to Lena. You did well. But remember, don't tell anyone about me. Not your father. Not anyone. This has to stay between us. Lena felt her chest tighten. She wanted to protest. But he's my dad. He's a cop. He can help you. The stranger shook his head, a shadow of regret passing over his features. If your dad finds me, I might not get a second chance. Trust me, I'm not a bad person. But people think differently. Ranger nudged Lena gently with his nose. Lena swallowed hard, realizing the depth of what the man had said. Danger, secrecy, and trust placed entirely on her shoulders. The sound of approaching sirens grew louder. Lena's breath quickened. She turned to Ranger. The dog's eyes were calm, steady, and unwavering. Whatever this man was, Ranger trusted him. The stranger mounted his Harley again, engine rumbling to life. He looked back once at Lena. Take care of him. Take care of each other. And remember what I said. Before Lena could respond, the stranger roared away, disappearing down the road in a cloud of dust and gravel, leaving Lena and Ranger standing alone but forever changed. Lena's heart raced. Her mind swirled with questions. Who was he? Why did Ranger know him? And why had he risked appearing here, knowing her father would arrive soon? Ranger barked once, low and steady, as if reassuring her. But Lena's gut told her one thing. The danger wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Somewhere down the road, secrets were moving fast. And Lena knew that the next time she saw him, the truth would be even more shocking than she could imagine. The dust from the stranger's Harley still lingered in the air, swirling around Lena and Ranger like a ghost of the recent chaos. The three boys, already pale and shaking, had retreated to the far edge of the road. Their engines idled nervously, the fear in their eyes impossible to hide. Tyson, the tallest and most confident of the group, tried to regain some sense of control. This isn't over, he muttered, though his voice was brittle and unsure. The stranger Hawk, as Lena would soon learn, stepped off the road and faced the boys squarely. His presence radiated authority, a tension so heavy that it felt almost tangible. The sound of his boots on gravel was steady, deliberate, like the calm before a storm. You boys think this was a game? Hawk said, voice low and controlled, yet carrying a weight that made the boys flinch. You corner a little girl. You think it's funny. You think it makes you strong? Tyson swallowed hard, his eyes darting nervously from Hawk to Ranger. We didn't. He started, but the words fell flat, swallowed by the tension that hung thick around them. Hawk stepped closer. Every step seemed measured, controlled. I don't care about excuses, he continued. You see this dog? Hawk nodded at Ranger. He saved lives. And the girl you threaten? She's the bravest one here. And if you ever touch her or anyone else like her again, his voice dropped almost to a whisper, but it cut sharper than any shout could. You'll regret it for the rest of your lives. The boys exchanged terrified glances. Even the youngest, who had been the first to speak, looked like he might cry. You hear that, Tyson? Hawk's eyes locked on the leader. The rules have changed. You don't pick on someone smaller than you. You don't corner someone weaker. Or next time, it won't just be a warning. Tyson's bravado evaporated completely. We're sorry. He stammered. Hawk's jaw didn't relax. Sorry doesn't fix the fear you caused. Sorry doesn't erase the risk you put her in. Leave now, and never come back. The boys scrambled for their bikes, fumbling to start the engines. Hawk didn't move. He just watched, silent, like a shadow that had swallowed the sun. Ranger growled low in his throat, warning the boys not to linger. Lena noticed how the dog's eyes never left Hawk. There was recognition, understanding, and respect. The youngest boy finally roared his engine to life. Come on, he shouted, panic overtaking bravado. They sped off down the service road, gravel spraying behind them. Dust clouded the air, marking their retreat as Hawk stood firm, silent and imposing. Lena exhaled shakily, relief washing over her. She clutched Ranger's fur, feeling the dog relax slightly. But Hawk didn't move toward her immediately. Instead, he remained poised, scanning the horizon, a soldier still wary after battle. Lena's curiosity and fear overcame her shyness. Who are you? she asked, voice trembling. Hawk turned slowly, lifting one eyebrow under the shadow of his helmet. His expression softened just a fraction, though his intensity never wavered. A friend, he said. Someone who's owed this dog and this girl a debt. Someone who came because I knew you'd be in danger. Lena's eyes widened. But you saved me? Hawk nodded. I did. And Ranger, he called me. You might not understand, but this dog has ways of letting me know when his girl is in trouble. Ranger nudged Lena, tail wagging slightly as if confirming Hawk's words. Lena felt warmth spread through her chest. She realized then how lucky she was not just to have Ranger, but to have someone like Hawk watching out for her. Hawk glanced down the road, tension returning to his stance. You need to stay safe, and you need to remember this world can be dangerous, even for someone like you. You were brave today, braver than those boys could ever imagine. Lena nodded, swallowing hard. Her small hand gripped Ranger's fur tighter. Thank you. I don't know how I would have. You don't need to know. Hawk interrupted softly. All you need to know is that you did your part. You stayed calm. You used the signal. And I came when you needed help. The distant sound of police sirens grew louder. Lena's stomach flipped. Mark, her father, would be here any second. Hawk's eyes darkened slightly, a shadow of worry crossing his face. You need to be careful, he murmured, almost to himself. If your father finds me here, things won't be simple. Lena's eyes widened. Why? He's a cop. He could help you. Hawk shook his head slowly. Some things aren't simple. I can't let anyone know I was here. Not yet. Trust me, you've done more than enough today. Ranger will keep you safe. Ranger barked once, sharply, as if confirming Hawk's words. Lena shivered. The bond between them was undeniable, unspoken, and powerful. Hawk stepped back, swinging onto his Harley again. He glanced at Lena one last time, his eyes serious but almost gentle. Take care of him, he said, nodding at Ranger. And take care of each other. Remember this day, because it'll teach you more about bravery than you know. Lena watched him roar away, disappearing down the winding road. Ranger's ears perked, tail wagging slightly, but he remained alert, watching the dust settle. Lena exhaled, realizing how close she had come to real danger. Her knees shook, her chest heaved, and her mind buzzed with one question. Who was Hawk? And why did Ranger trust him more than anyone else she had ever known? A moment later, the distant sound of tires and a police siren cut through the air. Lena froze. Mark was here. Her father, the man who had trained Ranger, the man who had always kept her safe, was about to arrive. She took a shaky breath. Whatever came next, she knew one thing. Today had changed everything. And the secrets of Ranger, Hawk, and the boys were only just beginning to unravel. The wail of police sirens grew louder, cutting through the dust and settling tension on the deserted service road. Lena's knees quivered as she glanced down the road. Her father's patrol car rounded the corner, lights flashing, engine rumbling. Relief and fear collided in her chest. She wanted to run to him, throw her arms around him, but Ranger's presence stopped her. The dog's ears were pinned forward, eyes sharp, scanning the distance. His tail was stiff. Every instinct told Lena that something wasn't quite right. Mark Carter skidded the patrol car to a stop near Lena and Ranger. Doors swung open, and he jumped out, his badge glinting in the late afternoon sun. His eyes swept over the scene. Lena, Ranger, the disturbed gravel where the bikers had fled, and the lingering swirl of dust in the air. Lena, he shouted, sprinting toward her. Relief broke across his face. Are you okay? I'm fine, Dad, Lena stammered, though her voice trembled. She hugged Ranger tightly, feeling the dog shiver slightly against her. Ranger, he came when I used the signal. Mark's eyes softened. I know, honey. You did exactly what you were supposed to. His gaze dropped to the tracks in the dirt and the lingering dust cloud from the biker's escape. His jaw tightened. Looked like we missed them by minutes. Ranger gave a low growl, almost a warning, and Mark followed the dog's gaze down the road. What's wrong, boy? He asked, frowning. Ranger barked once, firm, and nudged Lena with his nose, prompting her to step aside. Mark's eyes widened slightly. Wait, Ranger's alerting us. Something's off. Lena's heart skipped a beat. It's Hawk, the man who saved me. He was here. And Ranger, he knows him. Mark froze. Hawk, he asked, voice laced with recognition. Lena, you saw him? Yes, she said, teeth chattering. He warned the boys, and then he left. But Dad, Ranger trusts him more than anyone. I think he's someone important. Mark ran a hand over his face. You don't understand, Lena. Hawk isn't just anyone. Ranger and we owe him more than I can explain. Lena's eyes widened. Owe him? But why? Mark hesitated. It's a long story. One I wasn't planning to tell you yet. But today proves you need to know part of it. Ranger has a past before he came to us, Hawk. Hawk trained him long before I ever did. He's the reason Ranger is who he is, a protector, a police dog, and your guardian. Lena swallowed hard. So, he's not bad? No, Mark said firmly. Not bad, but Hawk, he has a dangerous life. He's someone who has seen the darker side of people, and he doesn't reveal everything, even to me, Lena's mind world. The man who had appeared like a shadow from nowhere. The one who had intimidated the boys with nothing more than his presence. Had a history with her father's dog. Her pulse raced. The pieces didn't make sense yet, but Ranger's calm trust in him was proof enough. Mark crouched down beside her. Lena, I need you to remember something very important. You did the right thing today. You used the signal. You stayed calm. That's bravery, real bravery. But Hawk's life is complicated. You need to keep this to yourself for now. Understand? Lena nodded, though confusion and curiosity swirled in her chest. I understand. But why today? Why now? Mark's gaze softened. Because the world sometimes throws people together for a reason. Hawk came because Ranger called him, because you were in danger. But there are things you don't know, things I can't explain yet. For now, just know you're safe. Ranger nudged Lena gently, resting his head against her shoulder. His fur was warm, reassuring. She hugged him tighter, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on her small shoulders. Suddenly, the air shifted. The faint sound of engines returned, different this time. Louder, more menacing. Lena's stomach dropped. She realized the boys hadn't gone far. They had regrouped, or worse, called someone else. Mark's eyes hardened, and Ranger's stance stiffened once more. Lena, Mark said, voice low and serious, we need to move. Now, keep close to Ranger. I don't know if Hawk's enemies are following him, but we can't take chances. Lena's pulse raced. She looked at Ranger, who gave a reassuring bark. She realized then that courage wasn't about being fearless, it was about standing strong. When fear was overwhelming, together, they moved toward the patrol car. Mark opened the back door. Get in, Lena. Ranger stays with you. She slid inside, holding Ranger close. Outside, the wind carried the faint hum of approaching engines. Lena's mind was spinning. Hawk, Ranger, the bikers, and the secrets her father hinted at. Everything was tangled in a way she didn't yet understand. Mark started the engine, eyes scanning the road ahead and behind. Lena clutched Ranger tightly, listening to the rhythmic panting of the dog beside her. For the first time that day, she realized that the world was bigger and far more dangerous than she had imagined. But she also realized something else. Courage wasn't just about surviving. It was about standing up, trusting others, and stepping into danger when needed. And Lena knew, deep down, that Hawk's appearance and the secrets hidden in Ranger's past were only the beginning of a story that would change everything she thought she knew about bravery, loyalty, and trust. Somewhere down the road, shadows were moving, waiting, watching. And Lena, Ranger, and Mark were about to find themselves at the center of something far bigger than a group of bullies. The patrol car's engine hummed steadily, slicing through the fading afternoon light. Lena sat in the back seat, Ranger curled tightly beside her, his head resting on her lap. Her hands ran over his fur, trying to draw comfort from the dog's warmth. But her thoughts refused to settle. Hawk, the bikers, the mysterious warning her father had given. Something told her the danger wasn't over. Mark's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. His eyes scanned the winding road ahead, then flicked to the rearview mirror again. They're gone. For now, he said, though his tone carried the kind of caution only a seasoned officer could muster. But we can't assume the threat is over. Not with Hawk involved. Lena frowned. Why does Hawk matter so much? He saved me, right? Mark sighed, jaw tightening. Yes, he saved you. But he has a life that's complicated. He moves in circles where danger follows him like a shadow. That's why you must stay alert. Ranger let out a low growl, his ears twitching. Lena stiffened. She followed the dog's gaze out the rear window. At first, she thought it was just a shadow between the trees, but no. Her stomach dropped. A black SUV was moving slowly behind them, tires crunching against the gravel. To deliberate. Too quiet. Mark's eyes narrowed. Hold on. His foot pressed firmly on the accelerator, the patrol car surging forward. Lena gripped Ranger, her heart hammering. The SUV followed, keeping pace, matching every turn. Lena's pulse raced. Fear mingled with adrenaline. She realized Hawk's warning had been real. Danger often traveled in silence, waiting to strike at the perfect moment. "Dad, who is that?" she whispered, voice trembling. Mark didn't answer immediately. His gaze remained fixed on the rearview mirror. "I don't know," he said finally, "but they're following us. And they're not just curious. They want something." Ranger's growl deepened, low and threatening, vibrating through Lena's chest. The dog's instincts were honed from years on the streets and in the police force. He didn't make mistakes. Whoever was in that SUV wasn't there for a friendly visit. The patrol car turned sharply onto a side road, dust rising in clouds. The SUV followed without hesitation, engines roaring faintly in the distance. Lena clutched Ranger tighter, feeling his body tense with every movement. Her mind raced back to Hawk. Why had he intervened? Why now? And why had Ranger responded to him so instinctively? Something about Hawk's presence suggested he wasn't just a protector, he was part of a larger story. Lena didn't yet understand. "Dad, what if they catch up?" Lena asked, fear lacing her voice. Mark's jaw tightened. "Then we'll have to rely on Ranger and some quick thinking. But remember, Lena, courage isn't just standing still. It's acting when you're scared." Lena swallowed hard, her small hands gripping Ranger's fur. Courage. She remembered Hawk's words. Bravery isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite it. The SUV gained slightly on them, forcing Mark to weave through the trees and underbrush. Lena's stomach flipped. Branches scraped the windows. Dust stung her eyes. The sound of the SUV grew louder, more menacing. Then, suddenly, Ranger leapt to the back window, barking sharply, teeth bared. Lena's breath caught. Ahead, a narrow clearing appeared, an abandoned service lot with scattered crates and old machinery. Mark's eyes flicked to it. "Hold on," he muttered. The patrol car veered sharply, tires squealing as he guided them into the lot. Lena felt the car jerk violently, dust and debris kicking up around them. The SUV skidded slightly behind, unable to follow the precise maneuver. Lena's heart pounded. Ranger continued to bark, growl, and shift, as if ready to protect at any moment. Mark cut the engine and killed the lights. Silence fell, except for Ranger's low growl. Lena peeked through the window. The black SUV idled a short distance away, driver scanning the lot, searching. They hadn't given up. Mark exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing. "They're waiting, watching, testing us." Lena's hands shook. "What do we do?" Mark's lips pressed together. "We wait. But we don't just wait. We prepare." Ranger's ears twitched. He growled low, a deep, warning sound. Lena felt the tension in the air, thick and almost suffocating. Danger had arrived, and it was clever, patient, and persistent. Lena realized something chilling. Hawk's appearance wasn't random. The bikers weren't random. The SUV following them wasn't random. Whatever web of danger Hawk was part of, Lena, Ranger, and her father had just stepped into it. Her chest tightened. Fear gnawed at her, but beneath it, a spark of determination ignited. She had survived today because of courage, because of instinct, because of trust. She wasn't powerless. She could act. Mark glanced at her, reading the determination in her eyes. "Stay close to Ranger, Lena. Whatever comes next, you must stay calm and trust him." Lena nodded, jaw set, gripping Ranger tightly. The dog's steady breathing against her arm reminded her she wasn't alone. Hawk had intervened once, and if necessary, someone or something would intervene again. But Lena's mind couldn't stop racing. Who exactly was following them? And why did it feel like the danger lurking in that black SUV wasn't just after her, but after Hawk too? The sirens were gone. The world seemed still, but Lena knew better. Danger was patient, and it was closing in faster than anyone could imagine. Somewhere, in the shadows of the trees, the next move was being made, and Lena, Ranger, and Mark were about to discover just how deep this story went and how far they would have to go to survive it. The abandoned lot lay silent, save for the low growl of Ranger and the occasional crunch of gravel under the tires of the black SUV idling nearby. Lena clutched the dog tightly, her small hands sinking into his fur. Her heart pounded, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Fear and determination warred inside her, but she refused to back down. Mark Carter's eyes scanned the lot, every shadow and rusted crate analyzed with military precision. He was alert, every muscle coiled, ready to react. But even he couldn't predict what would happen next. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind the SUV. A figure stepped out, tall and imposing, dressed in dark tactical gear. Lena squinted, heart hammering. The figure moved with precision, confidence, and menace. Hawk. But Hawk wasn't alone. Two more figures emerged from the darkness, men with black masks, weapons in hand. The danger that had been stalking them had escalated. Hawk's presence was no longer a mysterious blessing, it was the calm before the storm. Mark's hand rested on his sidearm, though he knew his greatest ally was Ranger. The dog's stance was rigid, hackles raised, muscles coiled like springs. He growled low, warning, challenging. Lena felt the growl reverberate through her chest, steadying her fear. Hawk stepped forward, arms open slightly, voice calm, but commanding. "Stay where you are. Don't move. Let me handle this." Lena's eyes widened. You knew they'd come for us?" she whispered. Hawk didn't answer. His attention was fully on the masked man advancing slowly, deliberately. Ranger's growl deepened, the dog circling Lena protectively, every movement calculated. Lena's chest tightened. She understood then. Hawk trusted Ranger and Ranger trusted Hawk. The first masked figure lunged, but Hawk reacted instantly. With a fluid motion honed from years of combat and training, he intercepted the man, twisting him to the ground with a precise maneuver. The second assailant froze, watching Hawk with a mix of fear and calculation. Ranger barked sharply, charging forward with the grace of a predator. One masked man tried to swing a baton at the dog, but Ranger dodged, jaws snapping, teeth grazing the man's arm. The man yelped, stumbling backward, while Hawk moved like a shadow, neutralizing the threat with calculated strikes. Lena gasped, clutching Ranger, feeling her knees tremble. The world seemed to move in slow motion, dust rising, the sun slanting through the trees. Hawk and Ranger moving as one, a coordinated storm of protection and skill. Mark sprang from the patrol car, weapon drawn, but he didn't need to act. Hawk had the situation under control. His movements were precise, lethal if necessary, but controlled. Every action was designed to subdue, not destroy. The masked men, realizing they were outmatched, attempted to retreat. Hawk's voice cut through the line like a whip. "Stop." One more charge, one more precise maneuver, and the threat was neutralized. The masked men were on the ground, disarmed, staring in shock at Hawk and Ranger. The lot was quiet again, save for the panting of dogs and humans alike. Lena knelt, hugging Ranger tightly. You did it. You saved us." Ranger licked her cheek, tail wagging slightly, as if acknowledging her gratitude. Hawk approached slowly, kneeling down, his eyes softening as he looked at Lena. "You were brave," he said, voice calm, almost gentle. "Braver than most adults I've seen today. You used the signal, you stayed calm, and you trusted Ranger. That's what saved you." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "But who are you, really? Why do you know Ranger so well?" Hawk smiled faintly, a shadow of memories passing over his face. "I was his first trainer. Long before your dad adopted him, I taught him how to protect, how to obey, and how to save lives. I never expected to meet you, but today, I was called. Ranger always calls when he needs help." Mark stepped forward, placing a hand on Hawk's shoulder. "I should have known. You've always been part of Ranger's past. Thank you for saving my daughter." Hawk shook his head. "Don't thank me. She did the hard part. I just answered the call. That's what we do. Well, we owe a debt to those we trust." Lena looked at Ranger, then back at Hawk. The pieces clicked into place. Bravery, trust, loyalty. Today had tested all of them, and they had survived because of courage, because of instinct, because of bonds that transcended words. The sound of approaching real police cars grew louder. Mark exhaled, glancing down the road. Time to explain everything. Hawk stood, eyes sweeping over Lena and Ranger one last time. "Be careful. Danger doesn't always announce itself. But know this, Ranger will always protect you. And so will I, if the world demands it." With that, Hawk vanished down the winding road as silently and mysteriously as he had appeared, leaving Lena and Ranger with a renewed sense of courage. The day's terror was over, but the lessons, the trust, the bravery, the bonds would stay with Lena forever. She hugged Ranger tightly. "We did it," she whispered. Ranger barked softly, a sound that seemed to say, "Yes, we did, and we'll do it again if we have to." Mark crouched beside her. "Today, you learned what real bravery looks like. Not just standing up to bullies, but standing with courage when everything is against you. Lena nodded. The fear, the tension, the danger, they were all gone for now. But she understood something crucial. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward, trusting those who protect you, and answering the call when it matters most. And somewhere down the road, Hawk and Ranger's bond remained unbroken. A silent promise that no matter what came next, Lena would never face danger alone. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the service road. Dust settled. Tires crunched as Mark guided the patrol car back toward safety. Lena leaned against Ranger, feeling the warmth of his fur and the unspoken power of loyalty, courage, and love. The day had changed everything, and Lena knew that no bully, no threat, and no shadow could ever shake the courage she had found in herself and the bond that would protect her for a lifetime.